Very much. So our next item is a debate on Local Government Finance Order, Scotland Order 2020. I would invite all members who wish to speak in this debate to press their request to speak buttons, and I call on the Minister, Ben McPherson.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. The purpose of today's short debate on the Local Government Finance Order is to seek Parliament's approval to update the guaranteed allocations of revenue funding to individual local authorities for 2020-21, originally approved by Parliament on the 10th of March. Last week, the Scottish Government took immediate action, recognising the challenges faced by businesses as a result of the COVID-19 outbreak by announcing a package of support worth £2.2 billion to limit the impact on Scotland's business community. The package of measures include 100% rates relief for all retail, hospitality and leisure properties, and this will result in Scotland's local authorities collecting significantly less non-domestic rates than they could have expected. Legislation dictates that the distributable non-domestic rates income cannot be changed after the 1st of April, which is why we are having to rush through this debate this afternoon. Any additional funding being provided to local government as a result of the COVID-19 outbreak will be provided separately and is not included in today's order. Presiding Officer, it is important to note that the Scottish Government will continue to guarantee each local authority the combined general revenue grant plus non-domestic rate income. In view of this, the purpose of today's order is to reduce the distributable non-domestic rates by the £972 million being provided by the Scottish Government to Scotland's businesses, with a corresponding increase in general revenue grant. I can also confirm that any additional loss of non-domestic rates income resulting from the adverse impact of the COVID-19 outbreak will be compensated for by the same increase to the general revenue grant, and therefore at no detriment to local government. Today's order seeks Parliament's approval for the distribution and payment of the same £9.9 billion as debated on the 10th of March. This £9.9 billion is a combination of general revenue grant that has been increased to £8 billion and the distributable amount of non-domestic rates income, which has now been set at £1.9 billion. The total funding from the Scottish Government to local government next year remains at £11.4 billion, but the split between general revenue grant and distributable non-domestic rates has changed considerably. The key point is that each local authority will receive exactly the same guaranteed total funding package as approved by this Parliament on the 10th of March, and I move that the Parliament approves the Local Government Finance Scotland Order for 2020 and urge everyone to support it.
Thank you very much, Minister. Can I call on Graham Simpson?
Thank you, Presiding Officer. When I saw this was coming up, I did feel it was like Groundhog Day, and I thought we've already debated this, haven't we? And I seem to recall it was quite an unexpectedly entertaining debate, and it was all about the overall funding package for local government. So we've covered that ground, but as the Minister has explained, the reason we're here today, it's a technical reason, and it's a very important reason, all to do with COVID-19. It's around giving the flexibility to give local government the same amount as it would have got, but in different ways. And so, Presiding Officer, you'll be pleased to hear I'm not going to take up any more of your time. This is not controversial, and we'll be supporting it.
Thank you very much. And I call on Sarah Boyag.
Thank you very much. I was told we had 3 minutes, so in time-honoured tradition, I have probably got 5 minutes in my speech for today. I also support this order going through today. It's absolutely crucial that our local authorities continue to have the funding to enable them to deliver services in what is an unprecedented crisis. I do want to thank our local government colleagues for the feedback they've been giving me over the last few days, and I know that they have lots of concerns about making sure that the social care sector is supported, particularly social workers. There's a particular issue about access to PPE for social workers. So if I can put on the record that we'd be keen to get feedback from the Scottish Government on what it can do to assist local authorities. I don't expect the Minister to answer that just now, I would have asked the First Minister earlier. I've also been made aware of concerns from Inclusion Scotland that vulnerable and disabled people and their carers have already lost their social care support with no notice as a result of the coronavirus. So this funding and this guarantee of funding is absolutely crucial for our local authorities to enable them to continue not just to provide key services that we take for granted, but in different ways like waste services, like our education services, but also for putting in place new services and for working with the third sector to enable our constituents to be supported over the next few weeks and months of this crisis. So can I just finally ask the Minister to confirm that he will work with his local government colleague, Kevin Stewart, the Minister, to respond to local authorities when they ask for help, to review progress, to ensure that vital services continue, alongside new support being developed for the third sector that was announced in the community statement last week. So we very much welcome this statement today. We will be supporting it at decision time. And even if the Minister can't answer my question today, I'd be grateful for an update afterwards. Thank you very much, Presiding Officer.
Thank you very much for that 5-minute contribution. And I call on Andy Whiteman.
Thanks, Presiding Officer. I'll be brief as well. As the Minister acknowledges, the technical requirement, which obviously we'll be supporting. I just want to use the opportunity to say a very big thank you to all those who are working in local government. This has been a big surprise for them, quite a shock to the system. Local government operates a complex network of services on the front line for the public in Scotland, and logistically it is posing huge challenges. So I want to pay tribute to everyone who's working extremely hard in these very, very difficult circumstances. I also want to note the emotional toll that it's taking on public service workers right across the public sector, because of course they're also at the same time increasingly dealing with family issues, whether that's children out of school, or whether it's loved ones who are ill, or whether it's those relatives who need care. And finally, of course, we have the substantial financial challenges that we'll all face over the next months. Yeah, nothing really more to say. This is not really a debate. We will be supporting the motion at decision time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Whiteman. I call on Willie Reddy.
We support this emergency measure. Councils need the finance to deliver the new policies and laws that are being passed at a great pace by this government and by this Parliament. It is astonishing that the rate that new government policy is being developed, and we have to commend the officials for the work that they are doing to develop that, and also to the councils who are having to turn that into practice in many cases to make sure that sometimes incomplete policies are delivered in practice. So there will be a number of issues that will be thrown up as we develop that new policy into practice. Businesses that perhaps have a rateable value between 15 and 18,000 and might have looked forward in England to particular grants of £25,000 find they're only going to get £10,000 in Scotland. Not a massive issue in the context of the scale that we're dealing with in the crisis, but something I hope that the Minister will be able to reflect on in due course. Businesses working in the hospitality sector discover that they are actually not considered as hospitality, such as the Kingsbarns Distillery in my constituency, that perhaps losing out on quite significant support that keeps them going. So there are a number of issues that are being thrown up. Equally so, whether key workers will have their childcare costs covered in full as a result of the policies that are being passed, something that I'm sure they would find comforting if that was to be the case. At the end of this, we're going to be dealing with an awful lot of a financial legacy that we're going to have to try and clean up. We've got an awful lot, we're going to have to find a way of paying for all this in the end, and I hope that there is a review mechanism for local government, so that when we look at the end of this crisis, at how different parts of government have fared, that we do actually consider whether local government have had the right finances at the right time. Because councils need to make the right decisions now without worrying about whether they've got all the money that they need to make it happen. So I hope there is a review process at the end of that to consider these important decisions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I call on the Minister, Ben McPherson, to conclude in this debate.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. The pandemic that we are facing, of course, is disrupting lives like never before, and a key priority and focus of the Scottish Government in partnership with local government, and I too also want to thank local government at this point, will be to ensure our communities are supported and protected as much as we possibly can under the current circumstances. Within the local government finance settlement, the Scottish Government will provide local authorities with a total package worth £11.4 billion, as I said. But as we know, this is only going to be part of the overall funding we will be providing to our local government partners and the wider business community. We have already announced an additional £350 million fund to support our communities alongside the £2.2 billion package of support for the business community. And working with local authorities and the UK Government, we will continue to respond at scale and at pace to further support the people of Scotland and particularly those most at risk. Presiding Officer, I would just like to say thank you to parliamentary colleagues for the unanimous support for this local government finance order that's been stated. This will help show our local government partners and wider Scottish community that the whole of Parliament is working together through this unprecedented crisis to ensure our local authorities can continue to support and protect our local communities in the coming weeks and months. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister. And that concludes our debate on the Local Government Finance Scotland Order 2020. Now, we've got a number of orders and motions to proceed through, but before we come to decision time, I would like to say a few words to members. Colleagues here will have seen the reduced parliamentary business schedule that we're about to vote on, which means that after today, the Parliament will not sit until next Wednesday. Parliamentary committees are similarly reducing their schedules. That is the right thing to do as we implement the public health advice and play our part in fighting COVID-19 and keeping our staff and constituents safe. However, can I reassure members that the situation is being kept under constant review, and I and our officials here will continue to liaise closely with the Scottish Government and all the political parties to keep you fully updated. I would also make the point that parliamentary scrutiny will continue, just as I know you all remain available to your constituents via telephone, email and other channels. I remain contactable to members directly and through my private office. We will take all necessary steps to keep people safe, but we will also, as members and as a parliament, continue to function at this vital time. Now, we're going to move on now to the next item of business, which is consideration of a legislative consent motion. Could I ask Hamza Youssef to move motion 21315 on the Air Traffic Management and Unmanned Aircraft Bill?
Move, Presiding Officer.
Thank you very much. A question on that motion will be put at decision time. The next item is consideration of SPCB motion 21330 on reimbursement of members' expenses scheme. And could I ask Andy Whiteman, on behalf of the Scottish Parliamentary Corporate Body, to speak to and move this motion?
Thanks very much, Presiding Officer. This motion, on behalf of the Scottish Parliamentary Corporate Body, provides for an amendment to the members' expenses scheme, which will provide additional flexibility to the corporate body in order to support members as much as possible in these exceptional circumstances. I move the motion in my name.
Thank you very much. And the question on this motion will be put at decision time. The next item is consideration of business motion 21343 in the name of Graham Day on behalf of the Bureau setting out changes to next week's business. Could I call on Graham Day to move this motion?
Move, Presiding Officer.
Thank you. And no member has asked to speak on this motion. The question is that motion 21343 be agreed. Are we all agreed? We are agreed. The next item is consideration of business motions 21333 and 21334 on the extension of a stage 1 timetable for 2 bills. Could I call on Graham Day to move these motions?
Move, Presiding Officer.
Thank you very much. No member has indicated they wish to speak. Therefore, the question is that motions 21333 and 21334 be agreed. Are we agreed? Yes. We are agreed. The next item is consideration of 7 Parliamentary Bureau motions. Could I ask Graham Day on behalf of the Bureau to move motions 21335 on designation of a lead committee and 21336 to 21341 on approval of an SSI?
Move, Presiding Officer.
Thank you very much. And they'll also be put at decision time. So we turn now to decision time. The first question is that motion 21322 in the name of Michael Russell on a coronavirus bill be agreed. Are we all agreed? We are agreed. The next question is that motion 21327 in the name of Ben Macpherson on the Local Government Finance Order 2020 be agreed. Are we all agreed? We are agreed. The next question is that motion 21315 in the name of Hamza Youssef on the Air Traffic Management and Unmanned Aircraft Bill be agreed. Are we all agreed? We are agreed. The next question is that motion 21330 in the name of Andy Whiteman on reimbursement of members' expenses scheme be agreed. Are we all agreed? We are agreed. And I propose to ask a single question on the 7 Parliamentary Bureau motions. Does anyone object? That's good. So the question is that motions 21334 to 21341 in the name of Graham Day on behalf of the Bureau be agreed. Are we all agreed? We are agreed. And that concludes decision time. I close this meeting.